Now's the time and place for the public hearing in the matter of the redistricting plan for the City Council of Sioux Falls pursuant to the city charter. We will call this hearing to order, and I believe Jeff is going to start us out this evening with an explanation of the charter provisions, section 6.02, and then option F and then the other two options that are sort of in play yet, but option F, the recommended plan, and then options B and E, which are still available for consideration. So, Jeff, if you would like to make your presentation, we would be happy to hear it.
Thank you. So I appreciate the opportunity to come speak. Jeff Schmidt from the City of Sioux Falls Planning Office. I've worked with Districting Commission for the last 4 times to try to give you information on the various options. The information that we go through when we're looking at doing the districting is out of Charter 6.02, and there's really 5 basic criteria that we're looking at when we're doing the redistricting. The primary one, the issue that we've continued to address and why we're really here today, is the first one, is that when we're looking at the population dispersion for the City of Sioux Falls, we currently are at 178,000 people in the City of Sioux Falls. And when we have 5 districts in the City of Sioux Falls and dividing those 178,000 people, we want an equal representation for each one of our council representations. So we look at that and we won't want an unequal deviation, unequal representation in any of the districts. Then we look at making sure that we have contiguous districts. We also look to make sure that we have the voting districts not being divided by the counties, and when we do have them, that we don't have too many of them going into the counties. Right now, I believe we have 2 of them that go into Lincoln County from Minnehaha County. The other issue that we look at is how elongated the various districts are, because at the same time you could make one extremely long and narrow, and that would give a certain disadvantage possibly to voters or to that representation. So they want it to be as compact as possible. And when we continue to look at the various options, if we look at these charter issues, those are the things that we have currently in the charter as the criteria. And we had looked at B, C, D, E, and F. We looked at 5 different options. We brought forward 2 as B and E, and the preferred option that was recommended by the Charter Commission is F, and all 3 of them meet those 5 charter criteria.
Thank you, Jeff. We have copies of the map available in the room. People have had an opportunity to view that, and at this point, if there were some public comment, we would do that.
We'll do just kind of an overview of F.
Yeah, I think that's right. An
overview of F, and then Jeff will, Mr. Millage will do F, and then Jeff will do B and E, and okay. Jeff, they're on the desktop too.
Okay. Yeah.
They're on the PDFs, right? Got it. Thank you. So again, as
we're going to do F first.
First.
Yeah.
Recommended.
Should be the, yeah. Mr. Millage, if you wanted to speak to this one.
Okay, sure. Yeah, you've asked me to speak because I kind of drew this one up, but I want to thank Jeff because I think it was the input we got on B through E that helped me to kind of see the bigger picture, and the input that we had looking forward in terms of the population shifts that are have been happening and will be happening to try to anticipate what some of that's going to be. Just a brief overview on F. What I attempted to do here was really the least number of changes, the least amount of impact to the fewest number of precincts, and I think it only impacted 5 precincts total. And also to clean up some of the boundaries, to balance, get the district, the population numbers back in balance, where like northwest, southwest are balanced, and that's the reason for the shift in precinct 1-8, for example, down there around 41st and Marion, was to get that back in balance, because we've got 2 precincts going out of northwest into central, which are 3-7 and 3-8. The reality is, even though those precincts go over to Interstate 29, 90% and maybe 95% of the population actually resides east of Kiwanis Avenue. So in essence, Kiwanis is kind of that boundary from a population standpoint. Also 1-2, shifting that the east side of Kiwanis Avenue into the central district. For the Northeast District, 5-15 from central to northeast, and 2-4 from southeast to northeast. Once again, helps to balance those populations and relieve some of the pressure on the Southeast District, which was starting to get out of balance. The bottom line is, when you look at the numbers, it does make the Central District the largest from a population standpoint, but of all the 5 districts, it's the one that probably has the least potential growth long-term with construction and new homes going up in the other 4 districts. And what this does, when you look, for example, with 3-7 and 3-8, currently the way those are divided, someone might live on the east side of Hawthorne right now, and they're represented by the Central District, and the person living across the street is represented by the Northwest District. So this eliminates some of that neighborhood division and helps to remedy some of that, using some of the natural boundaries, such as the Big Sioux River, as a natural boundary. I think long-term, with the census that comes up every 10 years, and we're 4 years away from that, the precincts, some of those precincts get realigned. When that happens, that may necessitate change again in 4 or 5 years, but this will take us through at least the next 2 election cycles.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. I think, too, you noted that on the Southeastern District, there's room for growth there, and I believe Jeff had indicated to us that that is probably the section of town that will get the most pressure now for new development, simply because of the sewer that's available and just the natural availability of land down there that is not available in the Southwest at the current time. So I think by keeping that population somewhat in bounds, that allows for maintaining some balance. So I think the option F that was my main reason, I think, for adopting voting for option F. It seemed to make some good sense there. Other comments from the anybody want to add anything on option F from the commission? And I think then Jeff can talk about B and E, which are still out there, and then we'll ask for public comment. So anybody else want to talk about option F at all? Doesn't look like it. So Jeff, please tell us a little bit about B and E.
With option B, you can see that we were able to make the distribution appropriate based upon the 178,000 people. And again, a majority of the issues that we've already talked about with the criteria and what Mr. Milage said in regards to the dispersion of the districts. So with option B, we were looking at moving 2 of the districts out of central to the northeast. We moved 3 of the districts from the northwest into the central, and we were moving 517 from the central to the northwest, and then we were moving 1-3 and 1-2 from the southwest to the central, or the northwest district, excuse me. The continual challenge that you have with all of these is with the growth in the south, and specifically, as you just said, in the southeast, you're trying to add population to the central and the northeast, so this generally addressed that issue. We also looked at the the option E, and again, the dispersion was appropriate. We were able to get that distribution of population. Northwest became one of the larger areas, but otherwise, the majority of the 4 districts were similar. We moved 5-6 out of the central. We moved again 2-4, 3-8, and 1-4. I think this one we moved. So then this was the option right before option F, and then there was a couple other changes that you were able to address to really get the most appropriate distribution of the populations. So.
Thank you, Jeff. I think I'm correct in saying that any one of the 3 plans, B, E, or F, all met the constitutional requirement of 1 person, 1 vote. They're within 5% of the center point. So any one of the 3 would be constitutionally defensible. So, okay, very good. Well, we.
And Mr. Chair, if you could just move up a little, they're having trouble.
I'm trouble hearing me, sorry. All right, so just a note, then I'll repeat, all 3 of the plans, F, B, and E, all meet the constitutional requirement for one person, 1 vote, so any one of them would be available. We would invite public comment. We had some folks here, and they have chosen to depart, so they, I guess that by indication or by inference would mean that they don't want to make a public comment. So we will move on through the public comment section and open up the discussion to any members of the commission. Anything that the members of the commission would like to add at this time? Seeing no one that has anything to add to the proceedings, then we have, I think, completed. Is there anything else, Mr. Greco, that we need to do?
No, just a reminder that we'll do this again Saturday morning, beginning at 10, and open it up for public comment. Run through the same process we did beginning at 10:30 with the formal portion. Okay, very good. So we will perhaps see a different turnout on Saturday morning, but we will wait and see. This is probably an indication that the public likes this plan. So. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mark moves to adjourn. Second? Second for Deb. All in favor say aye. Aye. We stand adjourned.